The member from Newmarket, Aurora.
Please, Speaker. Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Speaker, yesterday I asked the Premier to comment on the fact that Alfred Apps, former president of the Liberal Party, had arranged for a meeting with the Minister of Health and Dr. Christopher Mazza. In his briefing note to Dr. Mazza, he was very specific in advising him to downplay the fact that he had met with the Premier. Now, I asked the Premier what discussion took place in that meeting. The Premier refused to answer, and he deflected once again to the Government House Leader. This is a serious issue.
Question.
And I believe the people of this province want to hear directly from the Premier what his involvement is in this scandal.
Thank you. Premier.
Speaker, I'm delighted to speak to the question today. We've had an opportunity to find out a bit more about what it is that my honourable colleague was referencing. Speaker, on Sunday, October 30th, 2005, at a time shortly after we had declared an emergency circumstance in the community of Kasheshawan, some of those residents had been evacuated to Sudbury, Ontario, under the leadership of then Emergency Commissioner Julian Fantino. Situated at the airport, Speaker, was the Emergency Medical Assistance Team. I flew up there on a Sunday to meet with some of the residents. The person who guided me as part of a tour through the Emergency Medical Assistance Team tents was one Chris Mazza. That's my only connection with Chris Mazza.
Answer. Thank you. Supplementary. Order. Stop the clock. Order. Supplementary.
Speaker, I'm going to ask the Premier to go back to his notes and to his calendar one more time, because that's not what Alfred Apps was referring to. He was referring, and he made specific reference in his notes to Dr. Mazza, that meeting was at a reception. I'm going to ask the Premier one more time, why would he not remember that meeting with Dr. Mazza? Perhaps his advisors told him to downplay that meeting with Dr. Mazza in the same way.
You see it, please. Order. Order. Member from Durham, come to order. Premier.
I've said all that I can with respect to any meeting that I ever had with Chris Mazza. It may be that at some point in time, at some reception or other, I have had the good privilege to serve as a fortune speaker, to serve as Premier for some 9 years now. I've attended many functions. I've had the opportunity to meet with thousands and thousands of people during the course of those years. It's been my honour to do so. It may very well have been that I met with Mr. Mazza at such a reception, Speaker, but as I move my way through receptions, I meet with thousands of people.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
One would have thought that the Premier would remember meeting someone as infamous as Dr. Mazza. He's not your ordinary citizen, Speaker. After all, this government signed over to Dr. Mazza for $1 the entire air ambulance system of the province of Ontario. Is the Premier actually expecting us to believe that he would not have recalled that chance meeting with Dr. Mazza? You see, Speaker, here's what's happening. This is the kind of lack of recollection that we're experiencing from chiefs of staff, from other ministers, every time they come before the committee. That's why we need a select committee of the legislature. I'm going to ask the Premier one more time, will he agree give us a select committee of the legislature so that we can get to the...
Thank you. Be seated, please. Order. Premier.
Comments to the Toronto Star leadership?
Speaker, we've referenced recently the fact that the official opposition has been missing in action, away without leadership when it comes to lending shape to an ever stronger budget. But it's worse than that, Speaker. They're now actually sticking a stick into the spokes of the people's business. We want to move ahead, Speaker, with a number of important bills that will protect the public interest. The Accepting Schools Act, Speaker, they want to ring bells rather than stand up for our children in their schools. We want to protect millions of tenants, Speaker. They want to ring bells rather than stand up for tenants in Ontario. The Healthy Homes Renovation Tax Credit, Speaker, which speaks to our shared responsibility to help our parents and grandparents lead healthy lives in their homes. They want to ring bells rather than stand up for the Healthy Homes Renovation Tax Credit, Speaker. So it's worse than not lending shape. It's worse than people lending shape to a better budget, Speaker. They prefer to ring bells rather than stand up.